This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, Hans out today. We'll get back with him tomorrow. He'll be back with us, which means we bring in all the All-Stars to help us out, including the man himself, Tim LaComb. Coach, how are you?
I was thinking you had the wrong, maybe Lloyd scheduled somebody wrong. I don't know that I'm any sort of all-star, but I'll do my best.
Oh, Coach, you're an all-star.
Absolutely. How you doing, by the way? You good? Happy birthday.
Well, thank you. That was so nice of you to reach out on my birthday. No, you kind of ignore those. It's the double nickel this year, dude. You can believe it.
It's a big one.
So, yeah, I'm enjoying my last few years here of functioning everything.
Stop it. Do you celebrate the double nickel a little different than otherwise, or just treat it like another day?
No, it was pretty much I came to work and did my thing, and we had a couple friends over, just hang out, have some cake, and outside of that, it was a normal day.
What's the Tim LaComb birthday cake of choice? If you're like, I'm going to design the perfect birthday cake, what are you going with?
Carrot.
Really?
And that's what we had. I love carrot cake, man.
Interesting.
Nothing better than carrot cake soaked in some milk. A little Dunkaroo before you go there. It's quite nice.
Nice. Oh, good for you, man. All right. We got a lot to get to. Let's start NBA. Let's start with a Minnesota-Oklahoma City conference finals that I am really fired up for. This should be a real fun one.
You know, I think both the West and the East should be really fun, and a lot of surprises, a lot of small markets, for the conspiracy theorists, and then a lot of big markets. So yeah, it's kind of fun. But I'm with you. I think that it sets up really nice. There's inherent rivalries between the two based on the fact that they've been climbing, and then you get the Indiana, New York. I mean, you just go back to Reggie and Spike and all the history there. It's really fun. So I'm with you. At the current face value, these two series should be fantastic.
What is it about Oklahoma City that impresses you? Because to me, I mean, Shea's awesome and he plays really well, but it seems like when they really want to defend and the officials let them allow them to be physical, which for the most part they have throughout the playoffs, they're a nightmare.
They are, and we talked about it a lot, Scotty, during the year because we had a lot of things to talk about that weren't necessarily always Jazz related, a lot of league stuff. And one of the things we talked about with Oklahoma City is, they were on this very track. And what they did, I think they approached the game as opposed to constantly going out there and getting the quote unquote best player available. They really did. With positions in mind, draft options, and through the years they developed a lot of guys that are really valuable, and not just because they score. They're really valuable for different reasons. You look at Lou Dort. I mean, Lou was a guy that wasn't even drafted, was picked up as a free agent, and now is just absolute menace on that team defensively. I think what they've done is they've stockpiled a tool belt full of different guys for different scenarios. I think they have the scoring punch, that's obvious, but they also have the ability to kind of get big, get small, match their opponent, create issues for their opponent. They've done a really nice job putting that team together.
Are you at a point where you look at Shea, if you were, and I'm not asking you to put exact number to him, but is Shea top 5 in the league right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think because what we're seeing now is he's just kind of starting to come into himself. He's been doing great things for a long time, but it's now you're being recognized and you're backing it up. There's something to that. There's a lot of guys that can score a lot of points. And in fact, I look through the leaders in points in the playoffs to date, and the top 10, there's 3 of the 10 remaining in the top 10 in scoring in the playoffs. the days of having that superstar carry the load, a huge load, a lot of the usage, a lot of the points, is kind of starting to become obsolete because teams like Oklahoma City have various different ways to beat you. So it's pretty fascinating to see the game change from, the individual is still very important, but that running group that Shea has around him and understand what he can bring, but then he gives them the freedom to be who they are. I think that's why it works.
So whoever wins this NBA title this year, that'll be the 7th different NBA champion in 7 consecutive years. And so, the day and age where you and I growing up in the 80s and 90s watching NBA basketball and watching, it was either Boston or the Lakers, and then it was the Pistons, and then it was the Bulls, and then it was, a little bit of the Rockets for a couple of years, and then it transitioned into the San Antonio era. It seems like the powerhouse era, at least momentarily, has gone to the wayside in the NBA. Is that good for the league?
I think it is. I think that having I guess the way that it's set up right now, the way that guys can kind of get out of contracts when they need to, you've got to be prepared for all that stuff. And so it is you're definitely building for the future, but it's year by year. And, but I do think the parity is good. I lived those years and they were great, obviously coming up and knowing that, that it was going to go through LA or was going to go through Boston. We thought that this year, and Boston obviously proved a little bit too reliant on the three-point shot, which was a criticism during the year that proved to be true. It's interesting that the teams that are left really resemble teams. They've got their bell cow. They've got Brunson is one of those guys in the top 10 for the Knicks. You've got Anthony Edwards, one of those top scoring guys. But it's the guys around. You look at all the contributions from all the different players, and I think that that's what teams that want to be successful over a period of time need to kind of take note of.
Tim LaComb joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When you look at the league right now, and I want to go back to like January, February, Hans and I are on the air complaining, at least I am, that scoring's out of control. We're seeing way too many 148, 138 games. It's not fun. It feels like an all-star game. And then we have the whiplash of the playoffs where now you can legally physically assault a guy and not only not even get called for a foul. And now games are 98 to 87, and it's gone completely the other way. Is one better than the other, and can we kind of find a way to mingle the two together a little bit?
I sure would like to, because it is vastly different. Just sit and watch 82 regular season games. You could keep a tally of how many guys really, went all out and gave everything they had. And guys do it in the clutch. They go hard in the clutch, but there's a lot of empty calories, a lot of empty minutes there.
That's a good way
and that's
to put
when
it.
I speak, it speaks to I love Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he's such a talent. But I don't know that he's, I think in his mind, he wants to be in that era where he's the Kobe and he's this. But at the end of the day, man, you need dudes around. You got to trust them. That trust has to develop through the season. And when things go bad, that's when the star needs to take it upon themselves, to take the blame. But it's a fine line to walk. You got to have a lot of confidence, a lot of swagger. But I think Shea walks that line really nicely. And it started a couple years ago with them when he would get interviewed after games and the whole team would be there. It just sends such a great message of cohesion. And I think the closer you can get your locker room to that, I think that's where during the regular season, maybe those empty minutes aren't as empty because you're really developing a bunch of different things on the fly. But I'm with you. The regular season in contrast is very stark to the playoffs. And I think the old adage of people will do what you let them get away with. I mean, the regular season is what it is, and it's been that way forever. So I don't know that we change it much, but the in-season tournament seemed to, you saw a little spark during that. And so maybe little things like that, but beyond that, I think we got what we got.
If you had if you were an NBA GM and you could pick a young player off any other team's roster, how high on your list is Anthony Edwards?
Oh, massive. I think he's the future face, of the league. I think, again, it's a guy that competes on a nightly basis. He's not one of these dudes that is trying to find a way out of the lineup. In fact, he prides himself on trying to play every night. I had a cool experience this year with him. My cousin, his kids just love Anthony Edwards, and so I told him I'd take him in early before the game, before the regular public got in there, and so they were able to get a minute or two with him. And I'm telling you, the smile, the grin, the way he engaged. I know he's got his warts and all those things, but to me, he's the essence of what the league wants their guys to be. Somebody that takes pride, not just in being the man, but having his team actually, do that. And I think that's where you get that credibility. And he certainly, I think they're on the verge of possibly winning one. I mean, they certainly right now, with the experience in their lineup and everything else, barring injury, have to feel really good about their chances.
When you see a team like that, let's go back a few years. I think when the Rudy Gobert trade happened, there was a lot of belief that the Jazz fleeced Minnesota and that the Jazz, obviously, felt like they had won in a big way. And I know there were people around the league just looking at Minnesota like, what are you doing? Why would you give up that much for a defensive-oriented player that is limited somewhat offensively? But hindsight being 2020, hey, that might have been a pretty smooth move on their part.
No doubt. And really, what the Timberwolves did in that situation is they paid the price for a guy that's been the defensive player of the year a couple of years, an all-star. I think that we saw the evolution of the game and that big guy in the middle is important, but is he, the type of guy you throw that kind of money at? I think that's where the Jazz kind of changed course. And to me, it really worked out for both teams. I think at the end of the day, Rudy is exactly what Minnesota needed to shore up their defensive side of their team. And then he's really found a way to blend. I think the good thing about Rudy is he's probably from the outside seems a little bit stuffy, but I think the way he gets with his teammates and the way he defends and is loyal to them, I think that goes a long way. So he's worked himself into that culture, and it was a little dicey.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was punches thrown, for heaven's sakes. But they figured it out. And the bottom line is this. I think it worked really well for Minnesota, which is what they were hoping. And for the Jazz, it remains to be seen. Those picks are now in the works. They're certainly not going to be as high as the Jazz had hoped for. But this isn't always about having the highest pick. It's being able to put a package together. And I think the Jazz have, regardless of where those picks are, they can certainly put some nice packages together to attract some things.
You watch a lot of college basketball. What might be available at 5 for the Jazz?
Well, it all kind of depends how it falls. But, I think Trey Johnson had a heck of a combine. His name was kind of in that 5 area, and I'm really high on him. I mean, he led the SEC in scoring. He's a freak athlete, young, still got some things to work on, but talent level is amazing. A guy like Derek Queen from Maryland, who we saw make the game winner on the, maybe the gather step was extra long, but a lot of people are really high on him and, what he can do just by his sheer body and his mobility. Con Knipple's a guy that I really like from Duke. You spend, every offseason trying to find a guy like him. And here he is in the draft. So if he's on the board and shoots the ball the way he does and contributes to a team, the way I'm kind of talking about the way you put a team together, why Oklahoma City went out and got Caruso, why they went out and got Hartenstein, because they fit their culture. I think Con Knipple would be a hell of a fit as well. So VJ Edgecombe from Baylor is another name. So it really just depends on how this all plays out. And, the chatter today about Lowry possibly to Philly for 3, This could get interesting really, really quickly. So it's you're not getting the number one pick, not getting the number two pick. It's causing the Jazz to have to plan B, plan C, whatever plan they're on. But that stuff's all in the works, and it should be a really exciting time between now and the draft.
Ben Anderson thinks that we might see in the next 5-6 years Con Knippel be the best shooter in the NBA.
I 100% agree with that. And so to my point, again, it's interesting because Danny likes the guys he likes, and he likes guys, both he and Justin, that are freakish, that do something at a beyond elite level. And, certainly this guy's that. I remember when Danny basically went into the first round. Peyton Pritchard's name was nowhere on any mock draft in the first round. He went in and got him. And you've seen what Peyton Pritchard has meant to the Celtics as a team. Not the highlight star, but you're just looking for guys to help you move the needle. And so in my mind right now, if Con Knippel's on the board, I think that is a really hard dude to pass on because I think he brings immediate value to the club.
I would agree wholeheartedly on that one. Hey, Tim, you're the best, man. We didn't even get a chance to chat college hoops, but we'll do it again here soon. Great insight.
They're spending a lot of money. Let's just leave it at that. There's a lot of money being spent.
You know what? I think every day you probably wake up feeling pretty good about the fact that you don't have to go into some kid's living room and say, all right, what's your number? What do we got to get to?
Yeah, I don't care what you're like or what I'm like, but what are you looking for? How much money are you looking for?
Hey,
what's it going to take to get you in our program today?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, your thoughts on the Santiago hire before we let you go?
I was really happy. Brian's been a lifelong friend. I've known him since my teens. Played some competitive basketball with young guys together, as competitive as the day is long. But a lot of the reasons that BYU is where it is, obviously Tom Homo was legendary and always will be, but he had to have a guy running with him that did a lot of the stuff that maybe isn't desirable. And Brian did that, not only did it, but did it at a great level. And then he found ways to push the envelope. He got us chartering. My first year there, we chartered every league game. And that was an advantage. Not everybody was doing that in the Mountain West Conference at the time. In fact, I think we were probably the only ones doing it. And it made our road trips more, digestible. So little things like that. He just found ways through our boosters and the people involved to help us be better. And so I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
You're the best, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
There he is, the best. Tim LaComb right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We joke all the time that when Hans is out, it takes a myriad of people to try to fill in those big shoes. And PK, kind enough to hang out with us. We talked to DJ on Friday. Patrick Kinahan with us today. Hey, PK, how are you?
Pretty good, Scotty. Just got out of the shower, put my earrings in, and I'm ready to go.
Well, let's go. You got the bling all queued up, and let's do this. Got the gold tooth in. Let's do this.
Yeah, I got a big chain across my chest that says legendary.
Hey, when you look at this NBA finals, or not finals, but potentially finals, when we have whoever wins the NBA title will be the seventh different winner in 7 consecutive years. Is that good for the league?
I don't know that I could say conclusively that it's good for the league because I think that America loves dynasties. We as sports fans, we latch on to dynasties when they get going because in order to have a dynasty, you must have a superstar or two, and you maybe have a coach who is growing into his own as a superstar coach, and then he becomes flamboyant and he becomes his own prophecy of what the media makes him out to be. Phil Jackson smoking peyote and being mysterious and having philosophical ways and sit in circles and hum chants and all. They kind of grow into that. And then you have good versus evil. So I can't say specifically that it's universally best for the league, because I know the other way is good for the league, because we've seen that more than we've seen this situation. I need to see some more of it before I go, this is good for the league.
Who are you having more fun watching right now, Minnesota or Oklahoma City?
Caitlin Clark. This thing going on with Angel Reese, it's going to tear the country apart, Scotty.
You know what? Look, both of them having a little skirmish is the best thing that ever happened to the WNBA.
Yes, just for all those people who are so tenderhearted, though, I don't know that they're going to be able to stand it. But which one were you asking me, Oklahoma City
or Minnesota?
Denver? Or Minnesota? Yes, because Denver's gone. I'm equally loving them all, both, because I'm a basketball fan in the playoffs especially. I was telling someone a story. I think it was Barry Trammell. I'm going to have him on tomorrow on our show. And I was telling him that, hey, the Knicks have an opportunity, because he said, I can see all four teams winning the NBA title, right? The four teams that are left. And the last time the Knicks won the NBA title was 1973. I happened to be a youngster in New Jersey at that time, and I was a friend, my best buddy, his father was the mayor in the town that we lived in. My parents didn't have the money, but I gravy trained him through his father to get inside Madison Square Garden for the NBA Finals. I was there, and I remember going, and the guy that I was with, he ended up being the mayor of the town too, and the mayor that his father was ended up being a big-time politician, worked for the governor and all that, so he was well known, so we would get those types of tickets. And we sat down, and he says, let's run around the garden and play tag. And I said, no, buddy, I'm sitting right here. I'm watching Walt Frazier. I'm watching Earl Monroe. I'm watching Will Chamberlain. I'm watching Jerry West. I was just a kid, obviously a youngster, and I was way into it. And I've been that way ever since, particularly when it gets to the finals. So I have a gas watching any of these teams play, as long as the games are competitive. The game Friday night between the Celtics and Knicks was not competitive.
No.
I was searching. I was hitting the TV looking for other stuff, watching baseball. Yesterday's game, Game 7, Denver, Oklahoma City, was not competitive. I checked out, again, watching PGA, watching baseball. So I want competition. I don't even care who plays. I don't care the gender. I want competition. If I got competition, I'm in. I was down at LPGA down in St. George a few weeks back watching great golf. Doesn't matter to me the gender. That's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. I want great competition. Both these teams have entertained me to this point. Anthony Edwards is an entertaining player, right? Gobert, Conley, Joe doesn't play as much. He doesn't play at all, but he still has a soft spot in our hearts. And OKC, my gosh, man, their rebuild was 3 years. They were out of the playoffs 3 years, and then they got back in, and now look at them go. We all want that for the Jazz. I'll be the first to admit. Maybe it's just, obviously it's selfishly, so we talk about winning basketball. And Jalen Williams, the 12th pick out of Santa Clara, it took a while for him to develop, but he stayed 3 years in college. Cody Williams, his younger brother, he only played one, and he missed a lot during the injury-plagued season as a freshman. Plus, he had two NBA guys who were auditioning for the NBA, so he had a subservient role. I want to see him blossom. If he can get anywhere near his brother, then that was a great draft pick.
No doubt. Speaking of the draft, and again, this probably isn't fair to ask you, but what do you think the value is there at 5? Do you go with a guy who may not be a superstar but could be an elite shooter in Knipple? Do you maybe try to trade up, as there's reports that the Jazz might try to sneak up to number 3 and move Markkanen? If you're Danny Ainge, and one thing we know about Danny is we have no idea what's going through Danny's mind, but if you're Danny Ainge, what are you doing?
I don't know that I can narrow it down specifically, but everything that is possible, I am strongly considering. If they have an opportunity to move up to 3, yeah, I would be very much interested in that. I think Ace Bailey can be a big-time player. I watched the top 5, 6 guys. I spent a considerable time watching this year because obviously we knew that the Jazz were most likely going to have one of those picks. So I wanted to get a feel. Plus, I have a Wooden Award vote, and so wanted
No
to be
big
able to
deal.
get it. I want to get a feel for who those guys. Yeah, the guy who recommended me for that when he was done, none other than Paul James.
Wow.
Yeah, Paul told me. He said at the time he was getting done, and he said that I've got a guy that I really believe can do a good job. And that was one of the greatest compliments I had up until that time. I've had this vote for a number of years, obviously. And when Paul James, who I got to know a little bit, again, obviously, that would recommend me for that, I took some pride in that Paul James thought that I was worthy of that. Bill Marcroft, who's Paul James's contemporary, two legends, he would call me up to ask for what my thoughts were on the Heisman vote because he has a Heisman vote. Just a little insight to, obviously I've been around forever. So to me, I like a number of these guys. I'm okay with whatever they do. If they move up, great. If they stay at 5, I think they can get a really good player. We all want a Cooper Flagg. I did too. I'm not saying these guys below Flagg can be that type of player, but I think they have the possibility to be really good. So they should be in a good position dealing from strength. And it looks like, unless they made 2 or 3 moves, that in terms of going to next year with a losing record and all that stuff, we would be in the same situation next year too.
Do you, this fan base, I think, still went and watched games and filled that arena because they're like, okay, we get it. We understand the path here. We're watching the Duke highlights. We can figure out that this is what's going on. But then when it all falls apart and you end up at 5, is it going to be hard for this fan base to swallow another year like last year?
Yeah, because now if you're losing games, you don't know that it's going to work. It didn't work in terms of the draft position. And Justin Zanuck was right. Well, this is what we prepared for because the odds dictated that we were going to get number 5. Okay, but the odds didn't dictate that the Dallas Mavericks were going to get number 1. So you can say that as a fallback to save face. I get it. I would say the same thing. But certainly you were anticipating and most definitely hoping for better. I think what they need to do next year is if you get into the season and you're going with the younger guys and half the roster has the potential to be super young, we know that, don't rest a 23-year-old Walker Kessler. He'll be 24 at that point, obviously. Don't do that. Don't rest Isaiah Collier. So go ahead, understand that you're going to lose, but don't hold out guys who can be the future of the franchise. I don't need to see that anymore. If you want to hold out the older guys, hopefully they get rid of them and move on from them and get good value in return. But I think the fan base would be more accepting is if they go to the arena and don't see Walker Kessler in street clothes. Lowry Markkanen, we're used to. That's what we expect. The Jazz had a 47% chance of getting the number 5 pick. Well, if I buy a ticket to the game, I would be happy if I had a 47% chance that Lowry Markkanen actually plays.
Patrick Kinahan, the great Patrick Kinahan, joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Does part of you miss being on a beat of a team that is spending money like a drunken sailor right now down at BYU?
Jay Drew is one of my contemporaries, right? He worked at the Tribune and now is the Deseret News. And when if you've done the beat reporting, it sort of wears on you after a while. So, but I was talking to him and said, Jay, man, you cannot ask off the beat now.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious. These are the glory days. And Santiago, I said this on the air, he's a bulldog right now. He's running around in his little apology tour saying, hey, give me. I thought he was a president a couple of presidents ago. He is a guy who is feisty, right, and fiery. Well, he said you can still be that and also be compassionate, fine. But don't lose it too much here because your fan base wants you to win, and you're in a position now of power, and you're going to rub some people wrong. But you got to do what's best for the athletic department. And putting the athletic department and the football and men's basketball program on the level with these other places is really good. The numbers I'm hearing being floated around for retaining Kevin Young, oh my goodness. Let's just say Lavelle Edwards would not have to do the coach's show after the football game for $75 extra, like he used to joke that he had to do, because he was contacted, I believe, by the Suns. And once you got leverage, that's up to the school then to make up the difference. And so, yeah, I'm believing that's what happened. I don't have specific figures, but these are great times for BYU. And that's what the fans want. Don't apologize for spending the money.
Thank you. I've been saying that forever.
Yeah. Just stop with the insistence upon that you're not. You're not the highest bidder. Okay, great. You're not the highest bidder. So you're the second highest bidder or the third highest bidder. You're still outbidding most of the programs that are there. And I get, it's the tech guys, sure. But there's sort of a fine line there in terms of who is doing what. I can tell you that the football program said, Keelan Marion, we don't have any more money for you. You and your family can stop asking for money because we don't have any more for you. This is what you're going to get. If you don't like it, leave. So he left. Play the game. Great. And the other kid, the linebacker, Taggart, a smaller scale, same type of deal. Fine. That's the way it goes. You've got the money, spend it wisely, and win. I mean, we're expecting big things for the football program, but I can argue we're expecting even bigger things from the basketball program.
By a mile. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, if I'm a BYU fan and everybody's just kind of like, oh, but, they felt something special when they were on campus, and this is a different – no, shut up. It's the money. It's 100% the money, and don't hide behind it. Own it. If there's anything, I'm going to my friends at Utah, in the office and be like, yeah, darn right we outspend because we can and you can't. So how about them apples? Just own it. Puff out your chest about it. It's great.
Yeah, Kevin Young talks about stacking days. I talk about stacking paychecks.
Yes.
Because
there you go.
That's important. But I do think I'll give them credit because if you listen to Yegor Denham talk, he talked about the experience of BYU. And then we see yesterday Devonsa goes to an LDS church service, puts on a suit and goes. So I'm okay with them promoting that portion of it because I do think as long as the money is acceptable, whatever that level of acceptability is for each individual athlete, go ahead and tout the other stuff. Go ahead and tout, especially for basketball, when they don't even really have to be there for an entire year. And they really only have to go to class one semester if they want. They don't have to go the second semester because they can leave in March or early April. Go ahead and tout that. Just stop with the stuff that, it's not, the money is way below. I don't buy that. It's this stuff over here in the left-hand column and this stuff over here in the right-hand column, which is the money. And as long as the two can converge and the player wants that, fine. No more apologies. But the more this is across the board in any way of life. What was that senator in Idaho? You would know. He kept telling us that he was against one thing, one form of expression romantically, and then it finds out he's doing it. The more you protest about something, the more I'm going to suspect that you're involved in that. So just let that be. Let it speak for itself. As long as BYU opens the doors and turns on the lights, they're always going to have plenty of critics. And most often, those critics, no matter what you do, you can donate all your money. You can give every poor child a puppy and pay for his or her education the rest of their lives, and there's still going to be criticism. You're never going to satisfy those people, so forget about it. Just go about your business, do what you think is right, and just leave it at that.
When I was in high school, it was like some speech and debate contest, and I did pretty well. And that that senator that you reference was there and came up to me and was like, "Oh, you did a tremendous job. You remind me of me when I was your age, blah, 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 blah." And my dad loved to tell that story. Loved to tell that story until his issues came up. And then my dad, he doesn't tell that story anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that guy did what he did. I don't even remember his name. I don't even remember the circumstances. I just knew it was Idaho, and you'd have a reference point because of your Idaho roots. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't remember any details, any name. I brought that up because I knew you would know.
Somebody Google Mike Crapo, Minneapolis Airport, and that's all you got to do. All right. Thanks, PK. Appreciate it.
Yeah, let's do it again anytime.
All right. There he is, the man himself. That is Patrick Kinahan. Hey, listen to the show coming up on Wednesday. We'll have Kids on the Move in studio promoting the Hope in Motion Golf Invitation. Not just a golf tournament, it's a chance to be a real change for children with developmental disabilities in your community. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.